Bells here, back with another Series 12 team building video, and this time we're going to take a look at Zacian Groudon. So in our last episode, we were looking at a tier 2 perk for the channel where a viewer submitted a Kyogre Calyrexes Ice team, and now we're just going to focus on team building, which is technically a tier 3 sub. So if you're interested in building a team with me, feel free to join the channel for tier 3, and we'll hop on a Discord call and we'll build a team from scratch, more or less like what we're going to do here. So I've been thinking about Zacian Groudon, just overall how to make it, just relatively solid, and we're going to use some standard mons here, but again, the difference is how we use the sets and how we play them. So I'm going to give you guys I think about three Pokepaste with more or less the same mons but different sets that you can try, just so that there's a little bit of variance, but still all three of them are going to be very consistent and viable. All right, but again, it's just not, I'm not going to give you like the most super perfect squad. I'm just going to give you ideas, and ultimately from these three you can come up with your own Zacian Groudon squad, and I'll probably just pick one of these and just make a Pokepaste when the time comes for the 1st of February. But anyway, enough rambling, let's just go ahead and start here. So with Zacian, again, you get a super strong restricted that doesn't need to Dynamax. Behemoth Blade hits like a truck. All right, nothing needs to be said about Zacian, right? It's the most popular restricted in the metagame right now. And then when you pair with Groudon, so the benefit of Groudon is not necessarily Groudon itself, although Groudon is very good. The benefit here is the partners that it brings, right? So when you pick Groudon, you get the broken partners that come with it. So of course that means Gmax Venusaur and something like Gmax Charizard. Okay, and these two along with Groudon just do so well into a lot of different things. Like Venusaur is very good against Kyogre, right? And Charizard against the Zacian matchup and opposing Sun teams is also very nice. And then from here, the rest of the team, you just want to round it out and have answers against something like the Calyrexes, both Shadow and Ice. You now have to think about Yveltal as well, and then from there maybe some of the higher B tier restricteds or lower A tier restricteds, like a Palkia, like a Solgaleo, like a Dialga. These are all like not S tier, not maybe low A tier, but definitely within the B tier that you still have to consider, and you don't want to lose against or not have something to check those options, right? So we have a standard squad here, and then from here, is this Overgrowth? Yeah, no, let's make this Chlorophyll. I'm thinking Incineroar, right? You want that Intimidate spam, and this is what's going to help against both Calyrexes, Ice and Shadow. This is why Incin is so good. And then also, I think Grimmsnarl just overall fits the team, right? And this is one of the standard Zacian Groudon 6. Zacian plus what I call the Sun 5. So again, because Grimmsnarl has the ability to go for light screens and reflects, that's going to help a lot against some certain damage calcs. And with Spirit Break, you have something against Palkia, you have something against Yveltal, right? And that's important. But we're gonna have another option against the flying types like an Yveltal on this team. You won't see it yet, but when we actually do the movesets, that's what we're gonna take a look at. So let's just go ahead and reveal all of our GIFs now. So we said the Venusaur, we know it's the Charizard, we know it's the Grimmsnarl, and we now also know it is the Incineroar. So this is our 6. So now we're gonna take a look at the EV spreads, and again, I'm gonna show you 2 types of squads with the same 6. And then I'll show you one other squad where we remove the Charizard and use another option. All right, so let's just go straight onto it. All right, so now I think what you want to do for Zacian is relatively standard. So of course, you're going to have Behemoth Blade, and you're going to have Protect. Now from here, this is where things have some variance, right? And you have to think about stuff in the meta. So because Yveltal is a thing, I think now this is the time where you can start running Play Rough. And this is also good against Pocket. Now you might say, well, you got a Grimmsnarl with Spirit Break. I mean, that's true, but is that really the only option that you want against those things? I think we want something else, right? So I think Play Rough Zacian is also pretty good. And it's also pretty good against some of the other Dragon Restricteds, right? So stuff like Zygarde, and yeah, just in general. But again, we also want like the fighting move in general, so I think something like a close combat or a sacred sword is pretty good. So it all depends on what team are you. Are you team sacred sword or are you team close combat? It all depends on who you are. For me, I'm gonna go with close combat, and again, this is all personal preference. You can go sacred sword, that is totally fine, but again, it all depends on the user and what you view might be best. All right, but I'll leave close combat up there for now. Okay, so there it is. And then for the Groudon here, so Citrus Berry is always really nice, just to have that overall recovery for Groudon. I think it very much appreciates it. And then just a standard set here with Precipice Blades. And oh, it's what happened to my thing? It lagged a little bit. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Give me a second here. Alright, sorry about that. That was a little weird. So anyway, Precipice Blades, Rock Slide, Swords Dance, and finally Protect. So, you know, the Swords Dance is really good, especially when things want to intimidate spam you. You know, you just click Sword Dance and you go from -1 up to +1. So that's relatively standard. Venusaur, so, you know, a lot of times you want like the Life Orb on the Zard, which is very standard, but here I kind of want my Venusaur to do a little bit more damage, so I'm going to put the Life Orb on the Venusaur, believe it or not. But we're still going to run a standard set here with Leaf Storm, alright, Earth Power, Weather Ball, and Sleep Powder, right? Sleep Powder is just so busted. I mean, you can run Protect in this slot, but like, you know, Sleep Powder just gives you so many outs, where in some games where if you had Protect, you actually lose. So Sleep Powder is always really, really good on Venusaur. This is why we hate it, you know? And again, the Weather Ball in the Drought turns it into Max Flare, which is good against the opposing Steel types, right? Like an opposing Zacian. And if it's Life Orb, then goodbye. Alright, and then for the Zard, so if the Life Orb is here, then what are you going to put on the Zard? So for me, I kind of liked the Assault Vest variant, where you had Heat Wave, where is it, Air Slash, and then finally Scorching Sands, but then instead of Protect, now you have the Ancient Power, right? So the reason why I like the AV Zard here in this situation is because you deal so much damage already with, you know, in the sun, right? Because you have solar power, and with the Life Orb especially, you know, you're kind of just overkilling. So I kind of like, you know, something like Venusaur where it doesn't do that much damage. If you put this behind Grimmsnarl screens, now Venusaur can kind of just chill there and also deal damage, and then Zard, who already does a lot of damage, you can also be a little bit more bulkier with the Assault Vest. And what the Assault Vest can also do is help you live those, you know, lightning attacks from like a Regieleki or a Zapdos, or, you know, some of those Dialgas or Palkias are running electric moves. You can live those moves with the Assault Vest. Not that you couldn't do it already, you know, because those are non-stat moves, but, you know, you just have a little bit more extra bulk and something more, and a little bit more wiggle room to mess around with. And there's also some defensive calcs where you can survive certain physical mons, but I'll get to that when we go to the damage calc section of the video. But Ancient Power is a really nice tech on Charizard because against opposing Zards, you don't really have too much. I mean, yeah, you have a Groudon with Rock Slide, but Charizard's faster and can just remove this with a G-Max Wildfire. So if you have your Zard with Ancient Power, that's also really, really good. And yeah, so that's why I really like it. And then from here, the Incineroar, again, of course, we want to Intimidate. I think we do want the safety goggles this way, so that way it will resist like Amoonguss Sleep and Venusaur Sleep. So Flare Blitz, that's almost a false surrender. And then from here, wait, sorry, yeah. Then Fake Out. And then Parting Shot. And then finally Throat Chop. So I like Throat Chop because, again, this is what helps against the Calyrexes Shadow matchup, and also this is good against opposing Incineroars. It stops them from going for their Parting Shot, especially if you're faster. And again, I always like to run a faster Incineroar. You'll see with our EV spread that we've always been using with Throat Chop. In Trick Room, right, your Parting Shot goes last. So not Throat Chop, but Parting Shot. So when you go for your Parting Shot, they go for theirs, they get their thing in, and then you go for your Parting Shot, and then you bring your thing in there. So That's what I really like about a fast Incineroar. So 2 benefits: faster throat chop, and your parting shot goes last, which I like. All right, from here, Grimmsnarl, standard Grimmsnarl, reflect, light screen. This is what makes the this is the straw that stirs the drink, right? And I do like Scary Face for that extra speed control. This way we can, you know, counter those Landorses that want to go for Airstream on Venusaur, and just go for Scary Face as well. Now, if you are Team Thunder Wave, all right, okay, that's fine. I mean, I've always been Team Scary Face, right? Because I can click this multiple times. Now, if they pivot, yes, they can reset it, but then you put them out of position if they're forced to pivot, right? Thunder Wave is good in the sense that, you know, it stays there even though they switch, and you always get the chance of para hacks. And I think in the videos, I was actually testing Thunder Wave, so if you want to keep Thunder Wave, it's still pretty good. But for me, in the end, I still like the Scary Face option. All right, and yeah, but anyway, we are going to be Light Clay. Okay, so now from here, all right, how we want to do the EVs. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go with a bulkier Zacian, right? And let's go Adamant here, because the reason why I'm going bulkier Zacian, Adamant, is I want to be a harder hitting Zacian, and I already have screen support, right? So I don't need to be jolly here. I can just hide behind my screens and hit really hard. So let's go with 148 investment here. This will be 187, which is a good speed tier, because if you do the math, where you yeah, if you do the math, you can outspeed Regieleki, you know, even after a +1 by a wide margin, actually. So I really like this kind of speed tier with Zacian, and then, you know, I just like to optimize my HP for not grassy terrain, weather damage. Okay, but overall, I think this is a very solid speed tier number. And then from here, I just like to go to the second bump in the attack stat, but I'd like to go one more bump, just so that I have an even round number. And then from here, I just tap a little bit into the bulk, and that is my Zacian spread. Okay, now if you want, you can go to first EV bump here, where you just have 220 attack. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are, just feel free to message me in the comments, and I always answer what it is. So imagine here, look, you're at 218, and then you would think one more investment gets you to 219. It does not. It gets you to 220. You skipped it. So this is why we call it an EV bump. So if you don't know what it is, feel free to let me know, and I'll explain it what it is. And then you could just invest this more in speed, or a little bit more in your bulk, but I think it's fine if we can go a little bit harder hitting Zacian behind the Grimmsnarl screens. All right, and I'll show some damage calcs, you know, with this kind of set. All right, for Groudon here, so with Groudon, again, you always want to go Adamant. Very rarely will you go something else, but I think on this kind of squad, you do want to try and go with an Adamant Groudon here. So one thing I do want to consider is at least outspeeding Thundurus after +1. So this way you can go for something like a Rock Slide. So this way you deal big damage to the Thundurus. And then from here, I'm thinking of something like this, where you just max out the not max it out, actually we'll just go to 206. So this way I get an even number in my Citrus Berry recovery. You know, I don't really need defense and a little bit more extra bulk. So let's go something like this. All right, and then dump the rest in special defense. So the idea here is behind light screen, I'll also show this calc. You can swap into Kyogre Water Spout, dip below half, get Citrus Berry recovery, and then be able to take another Water Spout, and live. So that's the whole idea with this much special defense investment. And you don't really need that much attack on Groudon, right? 192 is very strong, so we don't need that. All right, now for Venusaur. So Venusaur with the Life Orb here. So I like to run it as modest here, so I want to deal some damage behind my screens. What I do like to do with my Venusaur is make it at 127 speed. So what this does is you can still outspeed base 100s with an Airstream boost with the Sun. So if an opposing, you know, Charizard went for max Airstream, your Venusaur still outspeeds it in the sun the next turn, right? So this way, if you miss the sleep powder once, you get a second crack at it. So yeah. And then from here, you just want to, you could just simply max the attack here, and then just a little bit more optimization in the HP, and then 1 point in defense, and then the rest in special defense. So you get a nice even number for your Earth Power boost. Now, again, the reason why we're ending in 159 is to optimize our Life Orb chip. So remember, with Life Orb, you're taking 1/10 of your health per turn, but if you end in a 9, 159 divided by 10 is 15.9, which rounds down to 15 damage per turn with your Life Orb. All right. Now, if you want, you might want to go to 169 just for a little bit more extra bulk, and you are more than welcome to do that. So let's just try to go to 169 here. Yeah, this is it. So if you want to go to 169 and have this much special attack, you can do that, okay? And that's still fine. But if you want to deal a little bit more damage with a little less bulk, then I would just go this route. So yeah, that's the Venusaur that we're going to use on this kind of team. Okay, now with the Zard, the main thing with the Zard, you're still going max speed, obviously. This is one of the base 100s that we're talking about. Now we don't need so. Did I put Jolly? I meant whatchamacallit? What is it called? Timid. All right, yeah, this is Timid. All right, so with Timid Zard, again, max speed is always what you want. Now from here, you kind of just want a little bit of defense. You know, 103 prime number is pretty good. You can go a little bit more to 105. There's a certain damage calc for that, but I think 103 is totally fine. 44 HP is what we want. You know, this is almost like if this had a Life Orb, right? And then from here, just 1 point in the special defense, and then the rest in the special attack. This is totally fine. And if you want, you could do something like this, where you just bring it down a little bit, and now you have a little bit more defense, and there's a damage calc for this, but it's still fine. But yeah, I kind of like this. All right, so we'll keep the Zard like that. And then for the Incin, again, I always mention that I like a little bit of a faster Incin, but we are going to be running careful. You can go second EV bump with your Incineroar and have 156. I kind of like the first bump with 76, because this way I can have a little bit more EV investment in my speed. Of course, we don't really need attack. And then what you can also do now is have this much bulk, where now you can live a close combat from an opposing Zacian after you drop it with Intimidate, or bring it down to neutral, as they say. All right. Now for Grimmsnarl, because we have an Airstreamer, I always like to go to 28 speed. So this way, after either Tailwind or Airstream, I should say 2 Airstreams, you outspeed base 100s, and then you can go for a Spirit Break, like for example, against an opposing Zard that wants to come in from the back. So I think that's pretty good. But we are going to go careful here and just, you know, hit an EV bump here. I believe it's 121. Yes, it is. We'll just have 4 attack. All right, and then 220 HP, I think is pretty good, and then 140 for that magic 103 prime number, just like how we did it with Zard. But yeah, I think this is how we want to do the first kind of team. So yeah, let's just upload this real quick. All right. And again, this is a standard Sun 6, right? You have your Zacian, you have Groudon plus the Sun Boys with Venusaur and Charizard, and then Incineroar for Intimidate and Pivot action, and then Grimmsnarl just makes the whole team work behind screens, and you have a little bit more speed control with Scary Face, okay? And again, it might be a standard 6 to some of you, but again, it's all about the sets and the EVs that matter, right? So now what I'm going to do, before I start showing some damage calcs, I do want to show you a second version of this team that has the same 6 but a little bit of a different item set. Okay, so what I'm mainly doing is I'm changing things up on the Venusaur and the Charizard. If you are Team Life Orb on the Zard, then by all means go for it. But what I do advise, if you're going to go with Life Orb, that you do have Protect. Okay, now the thing is, you can still go with the Scorching Sands option, right, for max Quake boost, and I think that's good for Zard because now you get that special defense boost that you normally wouldn't need to have with the Assault Vest, but with the Life Orb, you don't have that extra bulk with the Assault Vest. You do have Light Screen though, so there's that, but again, just with this 6, other than Groudon's Rock Slide, you're gonna struggle against opposing Zards. Now, I understand you do have the Light Screen and you do have like Parting Shot and whatnot, but that's not enough, right? So this is where I still think you do want the Ancient Power on the Zard, and you have to give up the Max Quake. I mean, it's totally fine. You have ground moves on Groudon and Venusaur. You'll be all right. But I think in this kind of format, it is worth it. And again, with the EVs, we do still want to optimize the Charizard's bulk with the HP number. All right, so again, you're ending in 159. Just to optimize that Life Orb chip. Now here with the Venusaur. So here, I thought about Cobra Berry, and this is something that a lot of Venusaurs are running. It's a common item, or even like Focus Sash for 252. I don't. I know Focus Sash Venusaur is really good. I just want to deal a little bit more damage with my Venusaur. So the thing is, instead of the Resist Berry, because the thing is, if things are going for max Airstream, you'll live one turn, but then they just click it again the next turn and you die anyway. So what I want to do is, I want to KO right back and go for the Weakness Policy Venusaur. So we're going to sacrifice a little bit of our damage and go for a little bit more bulk and still deal good damage with the Venusaur. So what I'm thinking here is we'll still keep our speed tier because I still want to outspeed base 100s after a +1, after they get a +1. But we're gonna drop our attack all the way here. So we'll go to first bump Venusaur, and then from here 156 investment, which will give us 175 HP. So this will optimize opposing weather like sand or hail if it comes down to it. And then from here we'll go 12 in the Spadef and then 52 in the defense department. So this is our a little bit more bulkier Venusaur. Yeah, we do less damage, but things like here's the thing, like when you're in an open team sheet tournament and people see Weakness Policy Venusaur, they're gonna be a little bit scared to click max Airstream in your Venusaur. So your Venusaur just kind of just sits there and soaks up damage from like neutral hits, and then you just kill things with Gmax Vine Lash, Weather Ball, and Earth Power. Now, if they do decide to click the Airstream, yeah, I mean, you got the Grimmsnarl support. So the reason why this whole thing works is you got the screen support from the Grimmsnarl to reduce that super effective incoming damage from whether it's like a Flare Blitz or some kind of flying type attack. And then you have a good amount of HP left. You get your +2 boost. You can swap your Groudon and get the speed boost. And now your Venusaur is just a monster. So I do like the Weakness Policy better on the Venusaur. And then in this kind of build, the Charizard has the Life Orb, but everything else stays the same. So let me just put this as a second Pokepaste. So if you like this version better with Weakness Policy Venusaur and Life Orb Charizard with Ancient Power, versus this one where you have the Life Orb on the Venusaur and Assault Vest Charizard with Scorching Sands and Ancient Power, whichever one you like. I think both of them are good, but now I'm going to show you a third version that doesn't include the Charizard, but instead something else. Alright, so the third version of this kind of core actually removes the Charizard and instead uses the Thundurus, the Defiant Thundurus. Okay, and I'll tell you why we want Defiant Thundurus, and this is going to have the Assault Vest. So the thing with Defiant is, first let's do its move sets and then it'll make more sense. So Wild Charge, Fly. I normally like to run Brick Break, but I don't want to break my Grimmsnarl screens, so Super Power is pretty good. And then finally in the last slot, I do like Crunch. Now some of you might be team Lash Out, after the Intimidate. Now it's like double. Now that's fine, but I like Crunch. Okay. So, and then something here, normally instead of the Grimmsnarl, maybe you might see the Porygon too. So this way you can go for Brick Break. And if you like that version, okay, that's a fourth version, but I like this one. So the reason why you want Thundurus here, especially with a dark move, is, first of all, you discourage Intimidate into your Groudon, and then you have, again, just like Charizard, an Air Streamer to make your Zacian, your Groudon, and your Venusaur fast. And you also have the ability to go for Max Darkness, so this way your Venusaur can deal some more damage even though it's not max, and you do have a Life Orb, right? So that's also pretty cool. But yeah, and then you also have Max Knuckle now, which can boost the attack of your Groudon and your Zacian and your Incineroar and your Grimmsnarl. So Thundurus fits this really well, and it gives you even more security against Calyrex Shadow, because you have this dark move. Helps you even more in the Kyogre matchup, because now you have Venusaur, Thundurus, and a Grimmsnarl to help you out, and then you probably just bring Groudon in that kind of matchup. So I do like that in that regard. And then like Calyrexes, you still have your Sun Core with Incin as well. But yeah, this is one version with the Thundurus, so I'll just do this EV spread real quick. So this one's going to be Jolly. I do have this much bulk in my Thundurus. If I remember my spread from Series 8, it looks like something like this. Yeah, this is my Thundurus, and I'll show a few calcs, but I remember I did it quite a bit in my Series 11 squads. But yeah, so this is a third variant of a Zacian Groudon Sun kind of team, where you have the Thundurus instead of the Charizard, which is a little bit more oppressive in terms of, you know, airstreams. But I know you don't have the Gmax Wildfire and the Sun Boost, but hey, the Thundurus has its own purpose. You discourage Incineroars from coming out here, which is really good into Groudon, Zacian, and Venusaur. So if you can punish those Incineroar brings with Thundurus instead, I think it's really, really good. And I might even prefer this version a little bit, in all honesty. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, if you like this version, hey, it's right here. But I'm gonna show some damage calcs and then test this out in a few battles, and then from there you just pick which one you like, or tell me which ones that you would like, and then just adjust yourself. But yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at some calcs. Okay, so this is Kyogre versus our Groudon's set here. So again, the sun is out, so this is imagining Kyogre clicks Water Spout, right? But then you swap your Groudon in, and in the sun, Water Spout does this much damage, 64 to 75%. However, again, we do have the light screen, so now it's doing at max pretty much 50%. So you're activating my berry, and then if you hit this threshold, and then I'm gonna recover, and then I'm gonna take another one. And if they hit anything less than 50, I don't get my berry, but then that means I can still take another one, because you didn't do at least 50% damage. So that's the benefit with this kind of special defense on the Groudon. So I do like it. I do like the fact that I can swap into a Kyogre like that and take 2 Water Spouts. So there's that. So let's move on. Alright, so now let's take a look at the Charizard set that we have here. So this is the Assault Vest variant, and then let me just change this to Ancient Power real quick. Alright, so let's take a look at Charizard against something like a Thundurus or a Landorus, right? So let's take a look at Thundurus. Alright, Thundurus. Let's just go with this one. Yeah, this is, but let's just change this stuff here. Nobody's using Clover Thundurus spreads here, so let's just go 252, 252 like any other pleb with a Thundurus. So Dynamax Thundurus, alright, Dynamax Zard, Max Lightning. So with this bulk, we actually do relatively well against a Thundurus. But what if they're Life Orb, right? So instead of AV, what if they're Life Orb? Okay, you see how we die? But then if we click Reflect, now we're kind of chilling. Alright, not saying that this bulk actually affects that, because even without this bulk, you still kind of live the Max Lightning. But hey, it's still kind of good, and then I'll show you where it does matter. But look how much we're living against the Thundurus. But let me show you Landorus with the Rock move. So Landorus, alright, standard Lando, okay, with a 252, 252. So Rockfall does 93% through with the, you know, in Dynamax form. Now, if it had a Life Orb, okay, now things change a little bit, but with the Life Orb, alright, even with Reflect, with a Life Orb, the Zard still kind of dies, so that's a little unfortunate. But again, you have other options against Landorus, right? So not to worry there. Okay, but now let me show you Regieleki. Okay, standard Regieleki. Where are you? Regieleki. Alright, you know what? Let me just do... Oh, there you are. So, standard Aleki. So, we actually do live a Max Lightning with the Assault Vest, right? And again, if we had a light screen, it doesn't do that much either. So, only max 62%. So, that's kind of cool. And then if you replace this with something like Life Orb, where you have to deal with Life Orb Regielekis, it's only about 68%, and then again in the sun you still KO this thing with wildfires and stuff. So nothing to fear here. So the Zard is doing well against Thundurus, is doing well against Regieleki, and it can do well against Landorus as long as it's not Life Orb, because we still die to Reflect, which is a little interesting if I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, those are some of the calcs for Charizard. Alright, so now we'll just keep moving forward and show you a few others, something like Venusaur against Max Airstreams. Okay, so with G-Max Venusaur, I'm just going to show the Life Orb variant, because if the Life Orb variant can live, then the Weakness Policy can live as well. So this is against Landorus with a Life Orb, right? So let me just show that real quick. So I put the Life Orb on it with no screens. The Life Orb Airstream just murders Venusaur, right? Even when we're max. If we do have Reflect though, so at max it's going to take 90%, which is pretty cool. And then we can get off our G-Max Vine Lash and then live to tell the tale. So that's kind of cool that we can live that. I would imagine it would be the same thing for like an opposing Thundurus. But yeah, that's the main idea with Venusaur. I want to see how much this does with Zacian Behemoth Blade. So let me just calc this real quick. So standard Zacian, that's a Dynamax Zacian. So we also live the Behemoth Blade from a Zacian, right? A 252 Zacian, where at most it's going to do about 89%, which is pretty good, because then again we can get our G-Max Vine Lash off, and then we'll take the Life Orb chip. We might die. I don't think we'll die if we're full health, but again we'll be okay. We'll have like 1 HP. So those are some cool calcs. We live the Behemoth Blade, and we live an Airstream from a Landorus, so that's the benefit there. Alright, so now let me just show you something with this Zacian bulk here. So with this amount of bulk, if the Groudon is second EV bump with its attack stat and it Dynamaxes and goes for Max Quake, you can live the Max Quake. Alright, 6.3% chance. I'll take this to the bank. But again, this is with Reflect. Okay, I do want to make that clear. So at the very least, you'll live that. Now, can you do this against Landorus? Let's see, a standard Lando, yet again. So Max Quake from Lando, yeah, yet again. So you also live this relatively comfortably. And if this was Life Orb, I think it's a roll. I don't remember. Let me check. Oh yeah, it's actually not a great roll. But if you intimidate it, even with the Reflect, so now you're just chilling. So you do have Incineroar on the team, thank God. But yeah, so you're gonna need a little bit help against Life Orb Landorus, but still, you can live regular Landorus, and you can live Groudon as well, second EV bump. So that's the benefit with this Zacian bulk. All right, so now let's just go ahead and take a look at some practice battles. All right, so this is a Zacian Eternatus team, and a team that just dies to Venusaur and Groudon, to be honest. I mean, there's 3 weaknesses to ground moves, and and the Rillaboom kind of just dies to Max Flare, and then I don't really care about the Moltres or the Urshifu, because both of those things either die to Airstream, or I can just wear them down eventually with the Grimmsnarl. So what I'm thinking here is just leading the straight off the bat with Venusaur here and the Grimmsnarl. So he goes with the Moltres and he goes with the Rillaboom. So this is very simple. Now I can take out the Rillaboom here. Now he could fake out my Grimmsnarl, right? But I'm gonna swap in the Groudon, get the speed boost, and then just Dynamax and go for Max Flare. That might mean I take an Airstream from the Moltres, but I should be able to live that. And he probably just goes for a Nasty Plot. There's no way he would max this Moltres in front of a Grimmsnarl, so to speak. So I'm going to switch out my Groudon here, and I get the boost on the Venusaur, and I remove the Rillaboom. He goes for the fake out on my Venusaur. So this is why you max it, and you kind of have to make that 50-50 read against some teams, right? Are they going to max the Venusaur, or is he going to click Sleep Powder? So he does click the Nasty Plot, but again, this is fine. I don't know why he brought the Colossal. I'm just going to click Max Quake, get a Spadef boost to help me against this Moltres. And he goes for the Airstream. Okay, and I actually live. So there's my bulk on my Venusaur. Alright, and then I get the free Swords Dance into the Groudon here. So now he brings in Eternatus. So again, this just dies to Groudon because I have Precipice Blades. Alright, now all I need to do is just get off my Vine Lash, and then Zacian just cleans up in the back. Alright, so there's the Vine Lash. That's all I needed. The Venusaur can die now if it wants. He goes for Max Darkness into the Groudon. I don't know about that one. Alright, because now I get Citrus Berry Recovery. He clicks Dynamax Hand, and I live, and it's Life Orb. This is why you run the bulk that we run on Groudon. Alright, so we live everything. Alright, if this doesn't mean I have some good EVs, I don't know what does. So he's actually Goggles here, and I should have known that because I didn't see any Life Orb here. But he does kill my Groudon here, but that's okay because I got Grimmsnarl in the back, and that's pretty much all she wrote. I go for the Light Screen just to guarantee extra security against the Zacian, but I don't even need the Zacian here because I have Weather Ball, and that's the last turn of the G-Max Vine Lash. So that was a relatively easy game. He got bodied by Venusaur, so let's just keep going on to the next one. Okay, so this is a Kyogre Zacian team, right? So looks pretty standard. There's an Aleki, there's an Incin, and instead of the Amoonguss, he opts for the Venusaur. So that's actually kind of cool. I don't think he brings that here, but I do see the Zacian and the Kyogre coming in here with the Torn. I don't know if he brings the Incin though, but he might because I don't see Regieleki coming against Groudon here. But I still need the same thing with Grimmsnarl and Venusaur. I feel like that puts on a lot of pressure on him right from the get-go. So he actually leads Tornadus Aleki. So I kind of know what this lead is. I don't think he would actually do this, but what I'm thinking here is he probably maxes the Tornadus and Volt switches into his Kyogre, so this way he can give his speed boost to his Kyogre. So me understanding that, I just want to get a Vine Lash off on the Aleki, and with the Light Screen I can take this Life Orb Airstream from the Tornadus, but I don't know if he actually goes for it. So let's just see if he does go for it. Okay, so there's my max, there's the Light Screen. I'm definitely living everything here. So he actually does go into what I originally thought he would do. He's trying to give his Kyogre the speed boost. However, we go for the Vine Lash and we just remove the Kyogre from play. So there's that. And again, I'm not really scared of a Dynamax Tornadus here. And now we have the Vine Lash chipping away. So he does get Zacian in here. I'm just going to change the weather into Groudon here, and I'm just going to go for Max Quake. The Zacian actually lives. I'm very surprised that it lived that. And now I'm forced to take a Behemoth Blade into my Groudon. I do have the Berry Recovery, but again, very unfortunate that the Zacian does live. Alright, but that's okay because the Vine Lash is ticking away, and now he's just left with a Tornadus and a Regieleki against a Groudon, and the rest of what I have in the back. So he tries the Grimmsnarl. The Grimmsnarl just bodies everything, man. This Grimmsnarl set with the screens just doesn't die. And again, Rock Slide just dealing residual damage here. Spirit Break reducing the attack. And again, we still got the Vine Lash chips going. The only real threat is the Tornadus. The Aleki can't do anything against the Groudon here, so it's eventually gonna die. All right, and there's the Rock Slide. And again, we don't even need the Zacian. Who needs Zacian when you got the Sun Boys? Alright, let's keep on going here. Oh yeah, I remember this one. This is against one of the homeboys, Renju. Alright, you can find him on Twitter. But I think this is Moxie's team again. And I should have known better. I did bring the Venusaur again here. I played this poorly, I remember this. I definitely should have brought the Charizard, but I did not. Because Charizard kind of just goes ham on this. With Zacian to clean up in the back. But yeah, I remember I did play this poorly. Look, you can see I see high Renju. So he goes with his own Venusaur. He maxes his own Thundurus here. I max my own Venusaur. And again, this is I will live this Airstream. And this is where like Weakness Policy would have came in handy. And he just sleeps my Grimmsnarl. And now I do go for the Quake here just to get a little bit of stat boost. I thought he would max the Venu, to be honest, but he didn't. So now he gets his Venusaur even more faster. I take more chip. I go for the Vine Lash. Again, not a great play, but I'm just trying to get my residuals going, which doesn't really do anything to the Venusaur, of course. My Grimmsnarl stays asleep. He kills my Venu because now he's faster. He got 2 Airstream boosts, and my Grimmsnarl still lives. This Grimmsnarl never wants to die. Now I go into my own Groudon, which makes his Venusaur even faster. He does miss the Sleep Powder. I'm very fortunate there. He breaks my screens with the Brick Break. And the Rock Slide with the Vine Lash does pick up. There's the Zygarde, and here's my Zacian. Okay, now I made a mistake here. Well, he does read it, right? He reads the protect. I probably should have just went for play rough because now he just goes for coil, and there's not much I can do here because now I have a sleeping ground. He sleeps my Zacian, all right, and now I'm in trouble because now he just keeps on going for coil, and now the Zygarde is unkillable. The Groudon lives the Leaf Storm, so once again I'm showing off my EVs. The Zacian does wake up. We go for the play rough and it misses. That probably wouldn't have killed him anyway because he got 2 defense boosts from the coil, and yeah, this is it. Yeah, see, the Zard would have been fine here, especially with Grimmsnarl. I should have let the Zard and Grimmsnarl. I don't know why I brought the Venusaur, but that was it. So let's keep on going and take a look at another. All right, this is he's using a Lugia Sun Team. I don't know what he's doing with this garbage. But yeah, again, this looks like a Charizard game for sure. I mean, against opposing Sun teams, you wanna bring the Charizard. I should have did it against Renju, but I did not. So we intimidate the Groudon already, so that's also really good because now I can just fake him out. I'm surprised he maxed the Lugia right off the bat. I thought he would max the Groudon here, but he did not. He has a Keyberry. I don't know how that helps him. He dies anyway, so a nice Keyberry you got there. Again, Lugia is just so bad. Don't use Lugia. But this is the power of Assault Vest Charizard. But Lugia is just so bad. Of course, he forfeits. I don't know. What do you expect? You're using a Lugia Sun team. Don't do that. All right, let's look at one more. All right, this is another one of the homeboys. This is Exil. I know him. He's another fellow Filipino player, just like myself. He's using Hyper Offense Calyrexes. So yeah, it makes sense. There's a Whimsicott, there's a Kyogre, there's a Calyrexes, there's a male Indeedee, and there's an Entei and a Regieleki. So he's got his Zacian answer with the Entei, right? I mean, again, this is where Venusaur has extreme value, and especially with Grimmsnarl with the screen support, he's gonna have a hard time breaking this. So there's the Calyrexes, there's the Whimsicott, here's the Venusaur, and here's the Grimmsnarl. So, you know, it's very dangerous to max the Calyrexes here because I could have Sucker Punch, but little does he know I did not have Sucker Punch. So he plays it safe and decides to click the Protect button and just go for a simple Tailwind. I'm just going to set up light screens and resist everything. There's the Vine Lash. That's really all I want, just to get the chip going. All right, and I'm hiding behind my screen, and I do make this read. I know he's going to swap the Calyrexes, but even if he stays in, he just dies because of Max Quake. So this was always safe because if this was Kyogre, I get a special defense boost, and if he stays in, he dies. And I had the Thunder Wave at the time, which actually could have come in clutch if I needed it. But this Entei is gonna die to Vine Lash, so you know it does get para. I do go for the Max Strike on the Whimsicott, just to try and get a little bit more speed control. But there's the Calyrexes, and again, this is where, you know, Spirit Break really helps. And there's no way he's maxing this now, right? So there's only one thing left in the back that's really threatening, and that's the Kyogre. Once you remove the Whimsicott, this whole thing dies. And again, we do survive the Astral Barrage because we have a light screen. Grimmsnarl is just so good. All right, there's the Moonblast, and there's the Weather Ball. So now it's literally 4-on-1 against Kyogre, and he has no more Tailwind, and I still have light screen for days. I do protect the ground on this turn. I thought I could just remove it with the Venusaur, and he actually crits me even though I resist and I have Spadef. So I'm in a little bit of trouble, but not too much because I can just reset my Sun, para the Kyogre. I don't get para hacks, but that's okay because I know I'm living everything here. And now I get the free switch into Groudon, and now he's done, right? Because now I can just click Play Rough. That does so much damage, and now I just kick Plea Baits, and there it is. So GG's to the homeboy Exil. But yeah, the team works out relatively well. Okay, so again, here's the first one, right? This is with Life Force. Actually, this is the third one. This is Life Force Venusaur with AV Thundurus instead of the Charizard, right? And again, you know, the benefit here is you have a little bit of a stronger matchup against Calyrex Shadow. You have another safety net into the Kyogre matchup. You still get Airstream, and you're deterring Intimidates from Incineroar, and Incineroar can just give problems to Zacian, Groudon, and Venusaur altogether. So having the Thundurus really helps, especially if you can put it behind screens from the Grimmsnarl. So that's also really nice. The very first version was this one with the Life Orb Venusaur and the Assault Vest Charizard, staying bulky behind, again, the Grimmsnarl screens. Grimmsnarl was low-key the MVP. I lived everything with Grimmsnarl, okay? And the Zacian, the Incin, and the Groudon, they never changed. And then the second version, is really more or less the same idea, but we put the life orb back on the Zard and the weakness policy on the Venusaur, and we made it a little bit more bulky, but still kept this speed tier the same. So if you ask me how do you do Zacian Groudon, this is how I would do it. So let me know which version you like and which one you're willing to try, and we'll pick one of these and make a rental code. But yeah, team building is chugging along. So let me know what you think. Until next time, have a good one.